one and all, to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. Today we got some Brewers talk. Brewers versus Dodgers. Drop game 2 of the series here. 7-1 the score. We'll get over that. And then we're going to be talking a little bit of Packers and Badgers basketball news. A little bit of news there for Badgers basketball. We'll cover that here coming up. To start, we're going to start with the Brewers. Another tough loss to the Dodgers and another offensive shutdown by this Brewers team. Early on, Dodgers took the lead there, 1-0. Brewers came back. Mark Canha, a solo home run, tied it up 1 apiece, and that was it for this Brewers team scoring tonight against the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, he went 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. They didn't take advantage of a Clayton Kershaw that wasn't really on his game. He was leaving a lot of pitches over the plate. We saw it from the beginning. There's a lot of pitches being left over the plate, and this Brewers team just couldn't take advantage of it. And that's it's sad to see, honestly, that an offense cannot take advantage of a pitcher who is struggling like that. Kershaw, I mean, he had some of his stuff. I'm not going to say he was completely off, but he left a lot over the plate, a lot that could have been hit by this Brewers team. And then we'll look at the losing side of it. Wade Miley, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Eerily similar lines between him and Kershaw. Miley pitched pretty good against a very good hitting Dodgers team. If you look at the tail of this series so far, the Brewers, every hard hit ball is right at a guy. You look at that first and second with 1 out, and Sal Frelick at the plate, and he lines one to Freddie Freeman. Freeman catches it and doubles off Monasterio at first. There's not much you can do about that. That was just a hard hit ball. Monasterio jumped, wasn't able to get back, got doubled off. Tough play for the Brewers there. And in other tough news for the Brewers, William Contreras called for 2 catcher's interferences. And if you look at JD Martinez's back foot, I never knew you didn't have to be in the box to be qualified to hit. He stands with his back foot outside the chalk in the back of the box there, further taking him back towards William Contreras. Contreras is there's not much Contreras can do. You watch the 2 times where he hit his mitt. He wasn't reaching. Contreras wasn't really reaching out, trying to grab that pitch like you would normally see a catcher's interference. No, he had his glove where a normal catcher would be catching it. It's just JD Martinez was so far back, and with that long swing that JD has, he whacked his mitt. That's something that the MLB needs to really look at, is that these umpires, they need to keep guys in the box. That prime example right there, instead of the Brewers getting out of the inning there with the bases loaded, they had to extend it. That scored another run for the Dodgers. That pushed that inning longer for Wade Miley. It's just, the Brewers, every single thing that could go wrong for the Brewers right now is going wrong. And then you look at the way that this offense is producing right now, besides 2 solo home runs yesterday by Santana, today by Mark Canha, that's about it for your scoring, other than Sal Frelick's little ground ball to second that scored a run on a fielder's choice. Other than that, you've scored 3 runs in this series. The Dodgers have put up now 13 runs in the series. Pitching has been a struggle. But I look at it as the Dodgers have not faced the top of this Brewers pitching staff. And I do really, and we're going to see here tomorrow, in tomorrow's game where Burns will be going up against Lynn, with Burns on the mound, would having a guy like Corbin Burns in this series and backing him up with Woodruff, and then having Freddie Peralta, guys with strikeout stuff, Wade Miley, Adrian Hauser, they rely on the ground ball and they rely on guys hitting it out. And that's where they really ran into problems here, especially with the Dodger lineup. You look at the top 3 in the Dodgers order tonight. Mookie Betts, 3 for 4. Freddie Freeman, 3 for 5. Will Smith, he went 3 for 4. Top of their lineup did most of the damage. Mookie Betts actually scored 4 of the 7 runs tonight. So most of your damage came from the top of the order here against the Brewers. Maybe, with a guy like Burns on the mound, Woodruff, guys with strikeout stuff, they can actually blow it past some of these guys. That might change the outlook of this series. It might change a lot of these scores, and the Brewers might be in these games. The offense might have a chance where they're not looking up at a hole right away. The offense is struggling, and then you add on to that you're already behind when this offense is coming up to bat. You look at it like tonight, going into the third inning, Brewers are down 3-1 already. For an offense that's struggling, a 3-1 hole seems like you have to do a lot to get back into this ball game. And it's not. It shouldn't be like that. The offense shouldn't think like that. It shouldn't be like that. But with the offense struggling like it is, that's what it looks like to them. They look at that 3-1 deficit and they say, "Oh no, we're down 2 runs. We have to score three to actually even win this game." Can we do it? I don't think so. And that's where the mindset is of this team right now. By the looks of it, is that there's the mental um, side of it is really killing this offense right now. The offense can't find a spark. They can't create a spark. Excuse me. So that's my take on it, is that the offense is struggling, but it also has to allow with the holes they're being put in right now. This Dodgers offense is good. I mean, they're good top to bottom. They have good hitters in this lineup, but the Brewers pitching staff this season has been what's carrying them through games. This offense is good for 2, 3 runs, maybe four for lucky. They're going to have an outburst every once in a while where they're going to score 14 against the Pirates, but they're not going to put up those kinds of runs here against, let's just say, this Dodgers pitching staff. They put up decent runs against the Braves earlier on here when they went to Atlanta, but in those games, again, the outcome wasn't in the Brewers' favor. So that's where I'm at with these Brewers right now, is the pitching really needs to pick it up. It's not like Wade Miley pitched bad. He pitched a quality start. 3 earned runs, 7 hits, 5 innings. There's nothing too shabby about that. The problem is that with the struggling offense, the 3 earned runs that Miley gave up were it's like climbing Mount Everest for the Brewers right now. It's going to take them a long time to come back from that. You gave them 15 innings, 20 innings, maybe they could find a spark within those innings. I don't see a way for this Brewers team, the way that they're set up right now. I don't see a spark. I really don't see a spark. Sal was a spark when he first came up. Sal's becoming one of the rest right now. Yelich struggling this series. Contreras, he's hitting okay in this series, but besides those guys, Marcana, 1 home run tonight. Santana, 1 home run yesterday. Other than that, there isn't much going on. Maybe it's time that we mess around with this lineup. Maybe it's time Owen Miller comes back up to the crew. Maybe, and I mean, it could be a far stretched maybe for some people, but maybe Keston Hiura gets a call up to the Brewers here pretty soon. He can. I still believe Keston Hiura's got a couple big hits left in his bat. Maybe he's the spark that this Brewers offense needs to find another gear going towards the final stretch here, because tonight here, the Chicago Cubs won, and so did the Cincinnati Reds. So now they are sitting 3 games back. Both are 3 games back of the Brewers. You don't win tomorrow, you get swept by the Dodgers. You go down to Texas, to Arlington, to face the Rangers with, if barring that the Chicago Cubs or Cincinnati Reds are both lose tomorrow, you could go down there with a 2-game lead in the division. I don't feel comfortable going down to Texas with a 2-game lead. That would be a killer to this Brewers team, is to get swept twice on this road trip. So looking at that, I really do think it's time that the Brewers organization really looks at this offense and finds a way, that we can get some production in there and a spark added back to this lineup. I don't know where it's going to come from. If it's going to come from AAA calling somebody up, if it's going to come from a team meeting with these guys, I don't know. But as of right now, I can see what the offense is producing, and it is a struggle to push runs across the board. Kershaw, he's a great pitcher, but he was not on his game tonight. He wasn't a complete shutdown pitcher tonight like we've seen Clayton Kershaw in the past. Kershaw pitched a game where if the Brewers were on, they could have put up 4 runs. They could have put up 5 runs against Kershaw, but they didn't. They couldn't figure him out. They couldn't figure out how to hit the holes, and a lot of it, and like I said, a lot of it was bad luck too. A lot of hard hit balls going right at guys. Joey Weimer there early on flew out deep to the wall. Nothing you can do about that one. Like we talked about the Sal Frelick line out to first base. Nothing you can do about that one. But they need a spark. They really do. I don't see any upbeat in this lineup right now, and that's what's really killing me. And then you look at the guys coming in after, and you look at like a guy like Gus Varland came in and shut down the Brewers. 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, no hits, and 2 innings of work there against the Brewers. A team that had him at one point and then let him go back to the Dodgers, and he just said, "Here, watch this. I'm gonna take care of you guys." And look what he did. Took care of them there in the 8th and ninth innings. There's nothing more to say about this Brewers team right now that the offense needs something. They need a little bit of something added to this group that's going to help them get over this hump. And then you look at the bullpen usage for the Brewers tonight. Uribe, 2 earned runs in his relief effort there in the inning, 3 hits. The Dodgers figured him out. Guys have been making contact off Uribe this season. He's a great ground ball pitcher. He can get the ground ball. He's got great movement on his stuff, but he's not a big strikeout guy. He's a ground ball. I'm going to get you out by making you hit at my guys. And I think the Dodgers really took advantage of that tonight. Chafin came in, gave up a run. Trevor McGill, no runs there in the bottom of the 8th inning. Good outing from McGill. That's about it for this Brewers team right now. That was about as good as it gets for this Brewers team there on the bullpen side of it. But other than that, like I said, tonight, the Brewers will play at 9:10 again against this Dodgers team. Corbin Burns will get the ball for the Brewers. Lance Lynn will get the ball for the Dodgers. These Dodgers lineup, they faced Burns a lot. Betts is hitting 333 against him. Freddie Freeman's hitting 375. Hayward's hitting 333. David Peralta's hitting 333. Other than that, low 200s for him for the Dodgers. Austin Barnes is actually he's batting 1,000 against Burns so far in his career in 2 at bats. Hayward's seen him the most with 12 at bats and that 333 average. Looking at the Brewers against Lynn, Canna is batting 471 against Lance Lynn with 17 at bats, 2 RBIs in those at bats. Caratini's hitting 400 against them. Tyrone Taylor 500. Abraham Toro's batting 250, and then Brian Anderson's hitting a solid 333 and 3 at bats against Lance Lynn. Look for Caratini tomorrow to get a start, or tonight to get a start for the Brewers there at the catching spot, and watch for William Contreras to be moved back to that DH role for the Brewers. Maybe give Mark Canna a day at first base, give Carlos Santana the day off. One of those kind of dealios, I'm not sure, or keep Santana in there. Right now, this Brewers team needs to stop playing these lefty-righty matchups. I think they need to find that best 9, whether it's in the majors right now, whether they have to go down to the minors and find a guy. I'm okay with parting with a guy like Tyrone Taylor right now. I'm okay with parting with a guy like Joey Weimer right now, because those guys, non-factors to this Brewers offense right now. Even a guy like Brian Anderson, I know I like Brian Anderson's glove, but he's struggling at the plate right now. Even a guy like Brian Anderson, I could see him as a guy where you could fluctuate and send him down or send him away for now. Bring back Owen Miller. Bring back a guy like Keston Hiura. Maybe a rookie like Tyler Black gets a shot at this Brewers team. They need a spark. They need somebody to come up, somebody who can get on base. And Tyler Black's a big on-base guy. I know he just got moved to AAA, but maybe it's right away we got to move him up to the majors. I'm not sure, but right now this Brewers offense is in a rut, and they need a boost. They need a big, swift kick in the pants, they like to call it, right now for this Brewers team. Other than that, right now, looking at some Brewers news. Let's see what we got. I did see something on the Brewers. Trying to find it here now. let's see. The Brewers system actually got moved up to number 3. The Brewers farm system got moved up to number 3 in MLB's pipeline rankings. The Brewers were all the way down at 25 at one point this season, and then they moved up to number 3. Big key to that is Jackson Churro being in there, and then having guys like Cuero, Mizorowski at Black, and then adding guys like Robert Gasser, Carlos F. Rodriguez, Luis Lara, and then Brock Wilkin, Mike Brovey, Cooper Pratt, guys like that being added into this farm system has really boosted that farm system to get up there into the rankings a little bit more. So good news there. The farm system's looking good. Hopefully to see some of these guys at the major league level pretty soon here because, like I said, they could really use some help there at the big league level. In other news, Rowdy Tellez did have a walk-off home run for Nashville last night in his rehab assignment he's on. He went 1-for-5 with the blast. It looked like Castanera had a multi-home run game for the Sounds, 10th of his professional career. He had a couple of solo shots. He had one in the 6th, I do believe, and then he had one in the 8th to actually bring him within a run. Jahmai Jones had 4 walks in the game. Black and Jones got on ahead of Tellez there in the 9th inning. Tellez took a 2-2 fastball over the right field wall for the walk-off. So good to see a guy like Rowdy Tellez producing at the AAA level. Hopefully to see it keep it up and potentially see him back at the major league level. Also in other Brewer news, Jesse Winker was activated. He's at high A, and he went 1-for-3 earlier tonight there for high A. So that was some good news for the Brewers there. Other than that, right now, and I'm looking around the Brewers, see if we can find some other news to report. That would be about it for what I'm seeing right now for Brewers minor league talk. Yeah, that's about it for Brewers minor league talk. So we will jump into the Packers next. The Packers, a little bit of talk here. They were talking, the Jets have discussed the idea of trading for David Bakhtiari from the Packers. You know Rodgers is in on that one. Rodgers wants to get his boys out to New York. I don't see it happening, but if it does, and the Packers can get good assets, good picks back for a guy like David Bakhtiari, maybe you jump at it. Maybe you take the deal. Maybe because David Bakhtiari, he's an injury risk. Every single season, he's an injury risk. You don't know if you're going to have David Bakhtiari out there. Maybe a team like the Jets gives you a little bit. Maybe they give you a lot, and you send David Bakhtiari out there. It wouldn't be a bad deal as long as you work it right. And Gutekunst, over the past couple years, has been a little bit better at working deals. Maybe he can make a solid deal for David Bakhtiari to be sent out to the Jets and get something big in return for this Packers team. Other than that, in Packers news right now, let's see. They're talking about Luke Musgrave, and they said Luke Musgrave. They're really comparing him. They said his catching ability is almost like Darren Waller, but they really are comparing him to Travis Kelce. They're saying with his size, his speed, his athleticism, everything in between, they said he's just, basically Travis Kelce on a different level, on a younger level, should I say. Travis Kelce, Luke Musgrave, I can see the similarities. But if that's the case, the Packers have found a diamond in the rough, another target for Jordan Love. And Love and LaFleur have both said it. They want to use him more. And LaFleur has talked about it. He said, you want to see some of the hardest working guys. He said, go watch Tucker Kraft and go watch Luke Musgrave in practice because those are some of the toughest working dudes that you're going to see on the practice field. So that's good news for the Packers there. They're finding a tight end of the future for them. He said they're not afraid of work. And it makes it easier losing guys like Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis. So hopefully going into this next preseason game, we see a little bit more of Musgrave. We see a little bit more of Kraft. And we see this offense kind of blossom, having two solid tight ends like that in there. Also looking at LaFleur said that the Packers were the ones that actually approached the Patriots about doing joint practices for these next couple days of the week here. I think it's smart. I think to get some more work against the Patriots, to get more work against an opposing team, I think that's a smart move. It's a good move there by Matt LaFleur. And then there was talk about LaFleur. He was talking about Carrington Valentine. And he said every practice he makes plays, he's super talented, and he's maximizing those opportunities. He said corner isn't a position where you sub in and out, especially with Alexander and Douglas. But LaFleur said they might definitely have to look at something. And he said that they haven't ruled out moving Douglas actually to safety if Valentine is one of the top 5 DBs. Could be a way to get them all on the field at the same time. And LaFleur has also talked about players keeping their cool and avoiding scrums. That's a smart move by LaFleur. Try to calm these guys down, especially what happened between the Packers and Bengals there earlier on in a little bit of a scrum there with Elton Jenkins. And then in other news, we're going to jump into Badger football a little bit. And they had Luke Fickell on the radio show. And he was talking about a couple things he talked about off air and a couple of the fans' questions. And he said, first off, with Braylon Allen's workload, he said Fickell had a feeling that question about his offense run-pass ratio would come up. And he said he plans on a goal of 193 rushing yards, and the success of the program has had when hitting that benchmark. The Badgers have won 86.5% of their games when rushing more than 193 yards since Alvarez actually took over the program. And he said that that goal could mean a different workload for Braylon Allen, who's averaged 21 carries and 126 yards per game. And he said he told Braylon, my goal for you is 150 yards, but you don't have to carry the ball 38 times to average 150 yards. If you average 140 yards, 135 yards on 18 carries, that's even better. And at the end of the year, will be a lot better because of it. You'll be a lot fresher, and when we need you to carry the ball 32 times or 34 times or even 36 times, then you'll be able to do it. So what he's saying is they still expect to work these running backs just as much as they have in the past. He just wants people to know that they're just expanding what the passing game is, what we've been missing at Wisconsin in the past years leading up into the Luke Fickell era here and Phil Longo. So I think that's actually good news for the Badgers there. And then another one was freshmen to watch. There are only a few freshmen that Fickell identified as likely to have significant roles this season. That's by design because the staff wants to give most of those players time to develop. But he said tight end Tucker Ashcraft was the first name to come to Fickell's mind when asked about freshmen he's excited for. He said he's counting on him this year, started to rep a lot with the number 2s and maybe even throwing him in there with the number 1s. Also talking about cornerback Jonas Duclona and linebacker Christian Algaro. Also were mentioned Tush Bertrams. They need to find some easier names for me on this Badgers team. I thought it was crazy with the Brewers minor league system. Now we're rolling with these Badger names. That guy's from Australia, so I can see why. And then he said, that was about it. He was just talking about some of the, and that's the punter commit actually, is Atticus Bertrams is the punter for the Badgers this next season. So interesting. Australian punter coming to this Badger team. And then we'll look at a little bit of Badger basketball. They actually released their non-conference schedule for the upcoming season. And it looks like it's going to be tough sledding for the Badgers this season. Let's see where we can find them here. Oh, they just released them today. It looks like the Badgers will have Arkansas State. They're going to have exhibition games. They're going to play UW Stevens Point on November 1st. And then they're going to play Arkansas State on November 6th, followed by Tennessee, a big matchup with Tennessee at the Kohl Center on November 10th. And then they'll play at Providence on November 14th, followed by a game with Robert Morris there on the 17th of November. So a quick turnaround from Tennessee to Providence. So a couple big games there for the Badgers early on. Then they're going to play Robert Morris, like I said, November 17th. Then we're looking at November 20th against Virginia in the Fort Myers tip-off. Then after that, in the Fort Myers tip-off on this November 22nd, they'll play either West Virginia or SMU. After that, they're going to get a little bit easier with Western Illinois, on November 27th. Then they're going to be playing Marquette December 2nd. Last year took 2 overtimes at Marquette to win that. So look for another big matchup there. Then the biggest game of them all, Arizona on December 9th. That's going to be a huge matchup. They got Caleb Love this last offseason. Arizona did. So that's going to be a huge matchup for the Badgers there and really test them there on a Saturday, December 9th. And then looking at Jacksonville State on December 14th and Chicago State on December 22nd. Chicago State actually got a couple of decent recruits. A couple of guys in the top of their recruiting classes going to Chicago State, 2 brothers. So a good non-conference schedule for the Badgers if you're looking for competition. A not so good schedule for the Badgers if you're looking for an easy sledding before you get to the Big Ten schedule. But all in all, if the Badgers win these games right here, go undefeated in these games, you might have just punched your ticket to March Madness through the non-conference schedule if you could beat some of these good teams in here. Even finishing this, say I could see Arkansas State as a win. I could see Tennessee, Providence, Robert Morris. Virginia is going to be tough. I could see them beating Virginia and Western Illinois. Marquette, that's going to be tough, but it's at the Kohl Center. I can see them taking Marquette. I think the toughest game in there is going to be Arizona. I think if you go with 2 losses throughout this entire thing, excuse me. I think if you go with 2 losses through this entire thing, I think you're looking pretty darn solid for the Badgers there going into conference play in there in the Big Ten. But that's just a wait and see. We'll wait and see when we get the Big Ten schedules coming out here pretty soon for the upcoming season for Badger basketball. And we'll get into a little bit more of Badger football talk when it gets a little bit closer here, leading up into a couple months from now. Probably only a month. Let's check on that here. For the Badgers, they kick off September 2nd, so we're going to be covering a little bit of Badger football here pretty soon. We'll go over the schedule, we'll go over that matchup with Buffalo, and we'll see what they have going on there. But until then, with that, we have Burns on the mound tonight against Lynn, 9-10 for the Brewers. Start looking to avoid the series sweep before we head off to play the Rangers. I'm glad you guys gave me a listen. Give me some shout outs to your friends. Hopefully your friends find me entertaining too. I just hope to give you guys the best news. Also, anything you guys want to get added into the podcast, or if you guys want to guest on the podcast, get into the podcast a little bit, shoot your questions my way on the Facebook page. It's actually incorporated with the Trajan KJ's locker room chats. Other than that, Instagram, Wisconsin Sports on the go, or you can hit up the phone line 612-283-0722, or give us a comment on the Apple Podcast or anywhere else in between. We love to hear from you. We'd love for you to shoot us some questions that we can answer on the air for you, or get you guys involved a little bit here. But with that, thank you guys for listening again. This has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Deuces, Brew Crew.